What's up, guys? Today we're checking out the ArcCaptain MIG200 multi-process welder. So without further delay, let's check this thing out.
All right, folks. Behold the ArcCaptain MIG200. Been waiting to get our hands on this thing, and so we're gonna do a in-depth review of it. We'll go over all the components. Uh, we'll take a look at the control panel and all the different features of it, all the capabilities and the specs, and after that, we'll run a few beads and see how this thing can do when we max it out. So let's check it out.
All right, folks, let's take a look inside of the ArcCaptain MIG200. Okay, so one thing I wanted to point out, well, first off, let's go over the feed mechanism. Everything looks good here. Everything feels pretty solid. The non-metallic parts feel good. So no problems there. The tensioner, here's how the tensioner is. You've got a Teflon washer, then a spring, and then your adjustment nut here to adjust your tension. This retainer nut feels kind of toy-like. Doesn't feel very robust, but aside from that, everything looks okay. It feels okay, but then you get around to the spool and where it runs on the machine, and got this all this slop here, and I'm not a fan of that. When I did test the operation on it, every now and then on one of the revolutions, you would hear clunk, basically it. Now, maybe this is the defect with this particular unit, but if they're all like this, that's not a good thing. So keep that in mind. That's definitely a negative in my mind. Let's move on to the reference chart. Okay, here we have the reference chart. Okay, here we have your reference chart for when you're going to be welding stuff. It's got your material type, the type of wire you should be using, the type of roller you should be using, what your polarity should be, your gas, what your gas flow rate should be, wire size, recommended wire size. These are all of your material thicknesses and your voltage and feed speed recommended. Up here you also have an illustration of your electrode, positive or negative, with some color references here for your positive and negative, just in case you just need to double check and make sure everything's hooked up the way it should be. But this is all good, aside from it being metric. I'm not too savvy with metric, so I have to cross-reference it to fractional or decimal. But aside from that, everything looks pretty good. It looks like a nice chart. All right, folks, let's talk about this MIG gun. on the ArcCaptain MIG200. This is a MIG 15. It feels okay. It's got a ball swivel at the base. Neck feels good. Switch feels good. It's got a spring-loaded nozzle. Okay. Everything feels pretty decent. It doesn't feel like it feels like a lightweight kind of torch or gun. And I say that because compare it to the Toolium 200, the TL200M, which I did review a little bit a while back. This that welder, which is a fraction of the cost, it doesn't have some of the fancy features like the nice LCD screen. It doesn't have the inductance burn back adjustments, stuff like that. But nor does it have a spool gun. But that welder is a pretty kick-ass welder for the price. And anyhow, it comes with this really nice gun, which is basically kind of like what you get on a Miller, like a Miller-Matic or one of the bigger Hobarts. It's a good quality material. It's not like plastic. It's like a composite, almost like you can see the glass texture in there. Better materials. It's a screw-on nozzle. The neck, everything feels really solid on this. It just feels a little more heavy duty, and in comparison, I think that the ArcCaptain could have done better. The good thing is you can swap out, you can upgrade your MIG gun because they did a Euro style connector, and so it's easy to find. Okay, enough about the gun. Let's check out the control panel. All right, guys, here is your control panel on the MIG200. Let's start off in the upper left-hand corner. You've got your memory settings. In case you program anything in there, you can use it for your different material thicknesses, different projects. That's what that button's for. The next one is your mode, stick, DC TIG, MIG spool gun, and MIG. This button here is for selecting your wire diameter. It's in metric. Today we're using 30 thousandths, 0.8. The next button is for your synergic function. Synergic is going to auto adjust your voltage and your wire speed based on your selection of amperage. And in the synergic function, you can also go back it off 3 volts or add 3 volts to micro adjust your settings. The next is your control, 2T, 4T, or spot welding. We're using 2T today. After that, we've got your gas. Basically, your gas selection. The icon here shows material, they're relative to each other. So your material is going to dictate what type of gas you're using. Today we're using 100% CO2. And okay, that's it for those buttons. Let's turn off the synergic and go to manual adjustment. And so this is very self-explanatory because they've got the V, the A, and hard soft for your inductance. So here's your voltage adjustment. This is your feed speed. They do have an A there. You're not selecting your amperage here. You're selecting your feed speed, which is also going to correlate to amperage. And then your inductance. adjustment, which controls the your level of short circuiting, which is helpful if you're doing some thin metals. But it also helps out when you start doing a little bit heavier metals. You can adjust that to get a smoother flow, better wetting into your weld pool. So that's it for that, guys. Let's move down to the bottom here. Okay, you've got your gun attachment, Euro style. You got your connection for your spool gun. Ground clamp connector. You've got your electrode selection, electrode negative, electrode positive, which is what we'll be using today. Use it solid with gas, and your ground clamp, typical budget ground clamp. It doesn't look great, but it gets the job done. So that's it for all your lower connections. I think there's nothing left but to lay out some metal and run a few beads, see what we can do. All right, let's get to it. All right, guys, this is test bead 1. Now that's just a stringer. This is 3/16. That's a stringer bead ran on the highest setting. I even had to set it to 0.9, which is 35 thousandths, just to be able to get 180 amps. Now, the machine, now ArcCaptain says that this machine goes up to 200, but I can't find anything in MIG that allows it to go up to 200. So there's the first bead. You see it kind of wet in a little bit, but it's a little high throughout the midsection here. The next one this one wasn't prepped that good. This next one there is a slight gap there. I'll run a weave. I'll run a weave pattern on this next one. Okay. This next one was a little bit of a stretch. It's a solid weld, but it took a lot to get that filled in, and it's decent. We'll try another one. I'll flip this over and we'll try one on the back side. All right, guys. Here's the weave pattern I ran. This is 3/16. This is the MIG200 ArcCaptain 30 thousandths wire, and this is on synergic function with 180 amps. It does okay. It does okay, but I guess the hard part that I'm dealing with is um, I still have a bead on here from when I did the Tool IM 200, the TL200M, and that machine just blew me away. I was so like impressed with that. This is a Tool IM 200.
And for one more time, just for reference, this is the Tool IOM TL200M, just to compare.
All right, folks. The ArcCaptain finally turned off its fan. That fan seems to run forever. Must have been 5 minutes after I ran the last bead on here. Um, it's a little bit noisy, so I was just waiting for that thing to turn off. But there you have it. Just a couple beads. I would say overall this unit is pretty decent, especially for its price point. I had a little bit of it was a bit of a challenge for me um, to be very excited about it because I had just done the Tool IM, the TL200M, not too long ago, and that thing just blew me away for being under $300. How well that thing runs and how well built its components are. I was just really impressed with that unit. So um, it was kind of setting the bar high for the ArcCaptain when it showed up for its review. Um, but overall, all the features you get with this, the DC TIG, the spool gun option, and all your fancy adjustments here for your inductance and your burn back, and the nice LCD, I would say it's a bargain. So, if you're not doing really heavy stuff, most of your stuff is every now and then 3/16 and under, go for it. It's a great bargain, and it was fun doing this review. So get out there and build something. Thanks for watching.